Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we're a couple days removed from the latest balance patch that saw a ton of buffs, nerfs, kind of, at least to some classes that we're not going to recommend today, but we're going to go over not 5 decks again. I think I have like 13 standard decks, 5 wild decks you can take and reasonably expect to climb with, whether it's the silver, gold, platinum, diamond, or legend. We're gonna go through all of those. If you enjoy the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like, it helps us out a ton as we're on the road to 85,000 subscribers. So who is the big winner from the latest balance patch that nerfed Druid? Well, it's Druid. Druid appears to be the best class, in particular tempo or ramp Druid. Very strong. This deck got basically a slap on the wrist, right? With the latest balance patch, the Concierge change didn't affect this deck. It was already one of the best ones, and Chia Drake lost +1/+1, and this card almost never played for the stats, more so for the Dragon Tribe, the draw, spell damage at times. But overall, yeah, Nest Matron lets you cheat that mana early, get the board back after you've ramped with either Splish Splash Whelp, New Heights, or Wild Growth from Gift. You have so much ramp in this deck, and your late game pretty hard to match with Marin the Manager, your Fi, your Yogg. This list does not run on Kiliax, it's running Perfect Module, Twin Module, and just ENR and all that stuff. It's pretty similar to a lot of the ramp Druids lists we've seen, just a couple new tools, and yeah, you could get to 13, 16 mana and then deal even more damage with your Trog Gem Tosser, and this has been the best performing deck at Diamond through Legend, as well as Legend, and it was supposedly nerfed. A Concierge Druid, not as good, but is the other Druid deck I would recommend. Pretty much unchanged. You're playing all the same stuff because Concierge does the exact same thing, just costs 1 more mana. So sometimes it slows you down by a turn. Most of the times it's pretty irrelevant because you're doing it like turns 5, 6, 7 anyways, and stuff costs 0 mana. But yeah, you get Concierge going, you give it spell damage, you deal like infinite damage with chalices from your pupils or your toy chests, and it's really good. And you got early tempo with the Dragon package, some ramp. The only ramp you're really running is Splish Splash Whelp. Like, you don't even really want to keep Gift for growth. You really want that Whelp. Get those dragons going. You have incredible draw and armor gain with Sleep Under the Stars. And Mista Vista, you play it, sometimes it's good. That's always nice. And Fi's just a pretty broken card. And yeah, this deck's not like top tier. It's looking more like tier 2 or 3. But pretty meta warping, and if you want to play this deck still, even with the nerf Concierge and Drake, it is performing very well. Like, again, not the best deck, but it's up there. The Razzle Dazzle effect in Deathlight has been tremendous. This list, actually, this is the list we highlighted the other day. I saw a version get rank 1 legend that ran Yogg instead of Ziliax. So something you might want to consider. I'm like top 200-ish with this. Theo's top 100. It's doing really well. It's the next best performing deck at Legend compared to Ramp Druid. Because yeah, the Razzle Dazzler at 6 is incredible. Buttons at 4 is pretty nice. Natural Talent, definitely worth the run. Just ramped stuff up. You have like inevitability and damage with Corpsicle and your weapons, and this deck doesn't just sit back and do nothing. You kill your opponent, right? You're gonna progressively either put a huge board out there, also just Horizon's Edge damage. It's a really good deck. Doesn't feel like a control deck anymore. We've like cut the Horseman. We don't have Climactic in here. It's more just like, yeah, a scamish mid-range deck. So if you're looking for a mid-range deck, it kind of hits those feels. It's less control-y, more about just, spamming stats, getting a lot of damage, and winning by, the late game in Hearthstone of like turn 6 through 8, maybe 10 at the latest, right? So yeah, you might want to try Yogg or whatever, but overall it's performing really well. And Jambray has popularized another list. Doesn't seem to be doing as well, but it's pretty good. A Double Frost version. What's funny is there's a new Double Frost card this expansion. You know, the draw one? We don't play it. Of course we don't play that. But you get a lot of damage in with this deck. So you have Marrow Manipulator with the Double Frost, and you have Horn of Winter, which can allow you to really ramp things up with your spell schools. So like your natural talents and all that, and you can discount things with Cabaret Headliner. It's much more all in on the spell package on Razzle Dazzler rather than more of like the tokeny base deck that the other one is, but stats on the early stats on this say this deck looks to be competitive, looks to be okay, but not as good as the other one we just saw. But if you want to take a look at this deck, give it a try. I think you could reasonably expect to climb with it. Just know it's maybe not as good, but how often can we play Double Frost these days? So I thought I would throw that one out there. Evolved Shaman, really good deck. I haven't really seen a Razzle Dazzler Shaman deck pop off yet, but Cookie, really awesome signature card, lets you play your Sigil of Skydiving, lets you play, you know, your Patches the Pirate, and basically you constantly want to go wide with this deck, generate tokens, so you can either Bloodlust your opponent down with Thrall's Gift, or just get a bunch of legendaries with Wave of Nostalgia, which can be really good. It's still worth running, even though Ziliax is not nearly as prevalent. It's just a good card in this deck. Ziliax, we got the Pylon module, ticking module still, of course, because we have a lot of friendly minions that we can utilize for that, and your Sea Giants, and Golganeth is absolutely a must and busted, and always love to see Gorgon Zormu in there. Gorgon Zormu, my goodness, because it's a free card. You can just throw that in there. So yeah, Evolved Shaman, one of the best performing decks as well. Both Handbuff Paladin and Aggro Paladin are doing really well still. They weren't nerfed like almost at all. Ziliax runs Twin Module Power Module, so not even the ticking at all. And yeah, no cards are nerfed in here. Painter's Virtue, get that going, buff up your stuff. Customs Enforcer, really good against like the Concierge Druids of the world, and just get a lot of stats. Kill your opponent with charge damage. Sankazel can push a ton of damage. Card's incredible once you get it hand buffed. And another really good Paladin deck, and Aggro Paladin, again, really well-performing deck. Doesn't run a lot of new cards. I think it's just Gorgon Zormu still. Pretty much nothing else is new in here, but really effective. Flood that board, get your Crusader's Aura, your Flash Sale, and just smark your opponent down if they can't deal with your board. And you got the ticking module, Pylon module going on for Ziliax. It's a card like it's been nerfed 4 times, but you never really want to disenchant it because it's always good to see play. It's going to be one of the best cards ever of all time at this point. It's so good. Zari Priest, also really top tier deck. One of the best performing, especially at the higher ranks. You can absolutely play it. It's pretty much the only way to play Hunter cards and win. Because yeah, I'm not recommending a Hunter deck. Also not recommending Warrior. Also not recommending Rogue. None of those classes are really thriving right now. So not going to recommend them. But if you want to play like Sasquatch, which I'm still waiting for that diamond, so gotta save my dust. I only have like 600,000 dust or some stupid thing like that. But yeah, you can play your Sasquatch. You can play the trusty fishing rod to get out your really good 1-drops. Like there's such good 1-drops for Priest, and Chillin' Vol'jin, just a super good tourist card. You get all those dragons out so you can take an extra turn with Time Wander Zari, and you know, your Thirsty Drifters and Ziliax with your Pylon module, ticking module, maybe OTK with that Zari, or save your Gorgon Zormu cheese for that extra turn and blow your opponent out. So yeah, actually the only way to really see some Hunter cards right now. Pain Warlock, really good. Was really good before the nerfs. Still utilizes ticking module, Pylon module. Just do a lot of self-damage early game with your Party Fiend, Mass Production, Blame Imp, your Geode, your Malefic Rook, and then you can, you know, cheat out your Giants, your Horrors, and try and win the game that way. And Popgar can give you some mass healing as well as damage, and Share Barrel Brim can lock down a target. This one's a little more teched out with your Speaker Stomper, so if you want to throw in like a Trog Gem Tosser or a Curse Souvenir or another Rook instead, you can absolutely do that, but this was like the highest performing list I found, at least at Legend, so thought we would go with that. Insanity Warlock as well, doing really well, pretty much on par with Pain Warlock. These are great decks to try and combat the Druids, basically, because Druid's pretty popular and they can't deal with a lot of the stats. Particular, you know, you get like Baritone Imp into like Encroaching Insanity into Crazed Conductor. It's like a full board of 3/3s that a lot of decks can't deal with that early in the game. Plus you have your reach in the late game with like you ramp up your fatigue and then go all crescendo, whether it be with Popgar or your Void Virtuoso, you know, your immune card, so you don't blow up with your opponent, and you can fizzle to get that going even more. This deck's doing quite great, and again, capping out at 4 mana like most decks it feels like these days. Pirate Demon Hunter is still pretty good, not as good as the other like Shaman and Death Knight board-based decks. Still has like really good early game like Treasure Distributor, Brain Masseuse, patches the pilot. You can really snowball into like your Sigil and DeHosen and like create this unkillable board, or you lose the board and it's really hard to come back with the deck. Got Kane, the Arana Tourist, allowing you to play pretty much as acupuncture and brain masseuse, but it's just a lot of damage, and the deck really likes that. And even if you were just running it for brain masseuse, it's worth it. That one drop is so ridiculous early in the game, and Ziliax gives you that pylon module and ticking module. I'll go with one more shaman deck, because why not? Not as high in the list, but it's been trending really well even before the balance patch. Reno Shaman, our one Reno recommendation, although Reno Druid looks pretty good too, has been doing well. It's a playable deck. Like, people have been climbing with it. You got the twin module, perfect module, which you can shutter block, Marin the Manager, Reno. You just got a lot of healing and AoE, and in your ETC got your vendor, Rat, Zola, so some value disruption, and Gorgon Zormu. It's, you know, just your regular Reno deck that's just trying to stay alive, play that Reno, win the late game. Not much weapon removal out there, so Doc Holiday actually feels pretty safe to play right now, and he can do some shenanigans with Incendious too, with like Shutter Block and try. There's like multiple lines with this deck, which I might actually give this one a go. Maybe I'll make a gameplay video on it in the near future. Looks kind of cool. And yeah, if you're looking for a Reno deck, I mean, they're always expensive. This is not a cheap deck, but this is absolutely one that looks like it's doing well. And the win rates are solid. Like, looks like tier 2, at least at higher ranks in Diamond through Legend. And lastly, the best performing mage deck, it's a toss-up. Elemental Mage is still okay. And Elemental Shaman, by the way, still okay. Like 50-ish% win rate. Like, you can climb with it. But Spell Mage has been kind of a little more popular lately. People have been playing it, and instead of going Light Show now, we're going with Seabreeze Chalice, go with the flow, which if you hit your Elemental Companion, you can make it like a Concierge, where your spells cost 1 less, and then they're all 0, and do a lot of damage. Or, you know, you hit it off Manufacturing Error, so you got a lot of burn, you got the new Tide Pools in here, because just a really, really good card, and you can hit more chalices, more go with the flows. And what you really want to look for in this deck, get that keyboard on 2. Best card by far. Try and hit spot the difference, go into error, and then you got some tempo. You can burn out your opponent. And this deck's like not top tier, like a tier 3 deck, but if you're looking for a relatively cheaper deck out there, all the cards, I think the only epic now has gotten a bit more expensive. Go with the flow is an epic, but other than that, it's a relatively cheap deck, so one you might want to give a go. And with Wild, I mean, there's not much to talk about here. It's pretty much the same old, although Ticking Module was a bit of a nerf to some of these decks, but Null Rogue, pretty much the best deck in Wild. Even I just gave up and climbed a Wild or Legend with it. Because yeah, Twisted Pack into Knolls, into your Giants, into Shards, like no deck can really answer boards like that. I have this turn 1 board on my climb, and I'll remind you, Wild Paw Knoll has already been nerfed 3 times, including a rework. Like, it's busted, and for some reason, Blizzard not really doing anything to help out about that. So yeah, Null Rogue, super good. Pyro Rogue, really good too. Get that, you know, your Swordfish and just kill your opponent. Cold Bloods, Cheap Pirates, Brigands, Ships Cannon. I mean, Distributor on 1 into a Brigand is usually you just win most games. It's so crazy. And you can play Demon Hunter Pirates as well. I'm not recommending that one this time because it's just better. So I would just say play Pirate Road. But the Demon Hunter list I shared last time, it's still valid, but I did struggle to get to that final hump to Legend. I got to like Diamond 5. I think I peaked at like Diamond 2 and I just got frustrated and switched over to Rogue. Shadow Priest, really good, really aggressive. I mean, it caps out at like 3 mana for your locations, and Fellwing 0, and this is your patches in the deck, you have to play it, and this is your other patches which you want to cheat out. And again, Brigand, Distributor, disgusting, and you got Acupuncture and more just damage. It's damage, kill your opponent really quick. You lose fast with it too, but either way, the games are going to go fast. Shutterwalk, your budget deck for Wild, is like the only playable Reno deck I've seen. Druid's like okay too, I guess, and Priest. They're all, I kind of switch between videos which one I highlight, so we'll do Reno Shutterwalk this time because it seems to be trending a bit better than the other ones, where you have Ziliax, Twin Module, Perfect Module, your ETC is Cold Storage, Brilliant Macaw, Theotar, but basically this deck is not really a big win condition. You're not really even going for infinite Shutterwalks. you're just disrupting your opponent to death. That's all you're doing. It's a bunch of disruption, a bunch of just removal and healing, and that's it. And you just hope to win that way. And that's the state of WoW. There's no point in trying to go like Astalor combos or things like that, because they get disrupted. You're not going to win that way. So it's all the late game decks just try and prevent your opponent from playing the game rather than trying to kill them now, because that's just more effective. So yeah, that's what this deck's trying to do, and it seems to be working all right. And then lastly, yeah, the Demon Seed. It's still good. Still beats a lot of slow decks, still struggles against aggro, still incredibly polarizing, still wish it would get addressed, but Wild has been basically abandoned, and we might have a video on that in the near future, because I do want to talk about that at some point. But yeah, those are the decks to try out, whether it be standard, Wild, lots of stuff. Just yeah, this latest balance patch kind of nuked Warrior from orbit, and Rogue went down because ticking and the perfect module is way worse, and they really like that with Sonya, but we'll see if Rogue emerges with some more threats as time goes on. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Good luck with your climbs. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.